Welcome to the Spitzen-Körper Thelema. We are looking today at a text that sits at the precise intersection of 19th century Romanticism and esoteric historiography, the point where occult scholarship collides with the claim that Western civilization deliberately suppressed an older, coherent wisdom tradition. Edward Pococke, writing in the mid-1800s for a publication called the Philhellenes, makes an argument that would reverberate through theosophical circles and beyond, that the Eleusinian mysteries were not a Greek invention at all, but rather the last refuge of an ancient Indo-Aryan wisdom religion that originated in Tibet and the Himalayas, filtered through Egypt and Chaldea, and eventually took Greek form. This is not Lobeck or Porphyry or Street Croix. Those earlier scholars treated Eleusis as a curiosity to be explained or a Platonic allegory to be decoded. Pococke rewrites the entire genealogy of initiation itself, claiming that Freemasonry, Christian ritual, even the structure of Western esotericism as such, derive from this single corrupted stream. The author here is writing in the lineage of Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophical movement, though the text itself predates the secret doctrine. What we have is an argument about suppression, how a mystery system, kept alive for nearly 2,000 years, was systematically dismantled by economics, by political conquest, and finally by state decree. The intellectual current is clear. This is history written backward from doctrine. The author begins with what he believes to be true about the structure of initiation, that it moves from mystai, the veiled, the blind, to epoptai, the seers, those who see things as they truly are, and then reads that structure into every historical document available. The claim is not that Eleusis was meaningless, but that it meant too much, and that its suppression was therefore deliberate. The passage we are about to read combines two distinct texts. First, Pococke's etymological archaeology, tracing Greek words backward to Sanskrit and Tibetan roots. Second, an earlier anonymous piece from the Atlantic Monthly of 1859, which frames the mysteries as the heart of Athenian life, something so vital that it could not possibly have been mere theatre. Let us read. Then the keystone of the arch was knocked out, and all that was sacred was given up to mockery. The mysteries of the Jews were identical with those of pagan Greeks, who took them from the Egyptians, who borrowed them from the Chaldeans, who got them from the Aryans, who inherited them from the Atlanteans, and so on. But what gods and angels had revealed, exoteric religions, beginning with that of Moses, reviled, reveiled, and hid for ages from the sight of the world. The lure of lucre was the final nail in the coffin of the Eleusinia. An Athenian demagogue and sycophant, whose eloquence was described as of a coarse and vehement character, degraded the sacred mysteries by persuading the state to levy a charge for those seeking admission to higher life. Thus initiation had become a commodity, and as necessary as baptism has since become with the Christians. Only the epoptai, who see things as they truly are, have preserved the sacred doctrines. The mystai, who knew them only superficially, laid the first foundation stone of modern masonry, and it is from this half-pagan, half-converted primitive fraternity of masons that Christian ritualism and most of their dogmas were born. The first hour for the demise of the mysteries struck on the clock of the races with the Macedonian conqueror. The first strokes of its last hour sounded in 47 BCE in the Thebes of the Celts. But the mysteries of Eleusis could not be so easily disposed of. They were indeed the religion of mankind, and shone in all their ancient splendor if not in their primitive purity. It took several centuries to abolish them, and they could not be entirely suppressed before the year 396 of our era. Alas! The Eleusinian mysteries are no more. Universal myths are personifications of powers divine and cosmic, primary and secondary. Their figures are infused with a vital spirit which, like the light within a lantern, shines out through their many-colored fantasies. Prehistoric Greece was colonized by two great Indian races, the Solar and the Lunar dynasties. Springing up from the kingdoms of Kashmir and Tibet, the prehistoric colonists of Greece consisted of the two great primitive and radical races of Aryavata, the Solar or ancient Buddhistic dynasty, and the Lunar dynasty. The former were the earliest settlers in Greece, and their religious exponents appear to have been the Dodan, or Brahmanical priests of the great tribe, Doda. As history progressed, the original Lamaic system of religion has been so much modified and so far compromised, as to be compelled to seek refuge in the asylum of the Grecian mysteries, instead of the state position it once occupied. The Lamaic system, originating on the high tract of land in the vicinity of the Himalayan frontier of Tibet, had taken up a strong position to the north of Thessaly, on the Adrian mountain range, before descending into northern Greece, under the auspices of the Dalai Lamas. This gigantic system of ancient Hellas was administered from that lofty mountain which was called Olympos by the later Greeks, but Olampos, or High Lama chiefs, by the original settlers. With the passing of time, the settlers corrupted Jaeus or Grand Lama, to Zeus, and Chakras, the horned child and favorite son of Zeus by his daughter, Persephone or Guru Parasupani, to Zagreus. Inside Greece, Bacchus was a prosnym of Zagreus, the successor of the Lamaic sovereignty in whose service was Orpheus, the founder of the mysteries. The Elith chiefs, who spread the Lamaic doctrines in the Attic territory, became Eleusine. Their forms of worship and Tartar ceremonials composed the staple of the celebrated Eleusinian mysteries. Pococke, the great Buddhistic pontiff, styled Ikshvaku by the Hindus, became Mogigos. Eleusinia were the holiest and most venerable of all mysteries in Greece. They were connected with the fertile Rherian plain near Athens that was named after the Rhea division of the five principal Brahmanical tribes. The high-born Brahmins or Kulini lived on the Peloponnese and Mount Cyllene. The mysteries were communicated to Culis Silius, ruler of the land of the Rhea, by Demeter herself. The lesser mysteries were celebrated in honor of Parasupani Persephone in February, the greater, in honor of Buddhist missionary Demeter in August. Yet the Greeks besmirched their noble ancestry by belittling their hierophants as troglodytes. Three hierarchs represented Buddhistical and Brahmanical power, while the political power of Srebtolemos or Triptolemos was formidable. The cave-dwelling Buddhist priests or Srukuladute, lords of the cave, who protected their secret doctrines from profanation, are today belittled as troglodytes. Two orders of priests officiated over initiations. The descendants of the high Buddha priest Orumolpadi, and the Buddhist Kyriakos or Keriks, the sacred herald of the Greeks. The latter aided by the daughters of the late Eleusinian high caste king Culis or Silius. Modern Greek authors who treat Eleusinian worship as mysteries, rather than the old national form of worship, name those admitted to the lesser mysteries as Mokshtai or Mistai, from the Buddhist word moksha. After taking an oath of secrecy to preserve the old religion of the country against the more attractive heresy of Homer and his popular gods, those admitted to the greater mysteries were styled Avaptu or Ipoptai. After admission to the innermost sanctuary, the initiate was discharged with those solemn words, "Salutation to the three holy ones." The mysterious name of Onjathin was also derived from Orm, the triple fire representing the highest tetractes. What did the Eleusinia mean? Perhaps, reader, you think the question of little interest. The Eleusinia? Why, Lobeck made that little matter clear long ago, and there was Porphyry, who told us that the whole thing was only an illustration of the Platonic philosophy. Street Croix, too, he made the affair as clear as day. But the question is not so easily settled, my friend, and I insist upon it that you have an interest in it. Were I to ask you the meaning of Freemasonry, you would think that of importance. You could not utter the name without wonder, and it may be that there is even more wonder in it than you suspect. But in sight of Eleusis, Freemasonry sinks into insignificance. For, of all races, the Grecian was the most mysterious, and, of all Grecian mysteries, the Eleusinian were the mysteries par excellence. They must certainly have meant something to Greece, something more than can ever be adequately known to us. A farce is soon over, but the Eleusinia reached from the mythic Eumolpus to Theodosius the Great, nearly 2,000 years. Think you that all Athens, every 5th year, for more than 60 generations, went to Eleusis to witness and take part in a sham? What we are confronted with here is a theory of historical substitution. The argument operates on two registers simultaneously. The first register is etymological. Every major Greek god name and priesthood is retroactively decoded as a corruption of Sanskrit, Tibetan, or Egyptian originals. Zeus becomes Jaius, the Grand Lama. Bacchus becomes Uprasnam of Zagreus, who is the successor of the Lamaic sovereignty. The very mountain of Olympus is revealed to be Oolampos, High Lama chiefs. This is not scholarly in the modern sense, it is occult etymology, a practice inherited from Agrippa and Paracelsus, where the truth of a thing is hidden in the sound of its name, and the initiate recovers that truth by phonetic archaeology. The second register is historical and political. The mysteries did not decline naturally. They were suppressed. First by economics, an Athenian demagogue, unnamed, made initiation a commodity, charging admission. Then by conquest, Alexander and Macedon struck the first blow. Finally, by Christian state power in 396, when they were abolished entirely. This narrative is crucial. It establishes a lineage of suppression that extends into the present moment of writing. The author is claiming that what we call Freemasonry, what we call Christian ritual, what we call Western esotericism itself, are all corrupted remnants of a single primordial system that was deliberately broken and scattered. The Apoptai, those who see things as they truly are, alone preserved the doctrine in secret. Everyone else, the Mystai, the veiled ones, inherited only fragments, which they assembled into new religions, new fraternities. What mutated here is the theosophical conception of history itself. Where 19th century scholarship saw development, evolution, refinement, Pococke saw suppression and drift. The corrupted forms, Zeus instead of Jaius, Bacchus instead of the sacred name, are not mistakes or natural language change. They are the historical record of a fall into exotericism, into the profane. And yet the mysteries seeded everything. Masonry came from them. Christianity came from them. The structure of initiation itself, from Mystai to Apoptai, from veiling to seeing, persists even in the religions that were supposedly born from their ruin. This is a profound historical claim. You cannot kill the form. You can only disperse it, corrupt it, commercialize it, and force it into hiding. The text seeded decades of theosophical historiography, including Blavatsky's own work, and established the methodology of reading Western esoteric practice as a degraded transmission of an Eastern wisdom that predates civilization itself. Whether the etymology is sound is beside the point. The claim is that reality itself is structured as initiation, and that history is the story of forgetting and remembering. Next, Thomas Taylor, on the Eleusinian and Bacchic mysteries. The Spitzen-Körper Thelema. If this archive serves you, support it on Patreon. Link in the description.